Welcome to the Eyes Up Mindset podcast, where we explore what it means to grow daily and find our best in every aspect of life.
Welcome back to another episode of the Eyes Up Mindset podcast. I'm John Shirkey here with my friend, my co-host, Jamie Wagner. Jamie, I love that we get to do this because we talk about getting better. We are always reflecting. We're trying to improve, change, not to go inside baseball, but we were just talking about how do we make our intro better? Yeah. No, I love that. I just hit record because it's like, okay, let's just share this because I think it's cool.
Well, the reality is that, and we challenge the listeners all the time, but these are like, anytime we're saying something to you guys, we're speaking to ourselves. We're speaking to our own lives, our own hearts, our own business. It's not us saying this is how you should do it. It's us saying this is how we should do it together. I want to do it better also. And that means we're going to experiment with some things consistently because we think, hey, I can do this better. We as a podcast can do this better. We can have these conversations in a way that is meaningful and grows me and you also, not just the people that are tuning in. And so we wanted to share that with you to say we are not anywhere near arrived in this process. And we want to listen and learn from other people that are farther down the road from us too.
Nor do I think that you ever will be arrived. Yeah. Jamie, it's about the journey. Speaking of business, if you are a coach or a leader out there and you're looking for motivation, long-term season stuff, reach out to us. Jamie, you're working with a bunch of teams. We're just getting high school sports in the fall going again, high school, college. Reach out if you want somebody to come in and help you develop a mindset and tools around, how do we perform better mentally to impact our output on the field of play. And individually, same thing. If you're an individual struggling or just want to improve, we'd love to hear from you and see how we can help you out. So send us an email is probably the best, eyesupmindset@gmail.com, or, our website, eyesupmindset.com. Our cell phone numbers are on there. Call us, text us. We're here to help. So sorry, Jamie, that was we don't do very well sometimes telling people what we do, because I think we get so excited about what we get to do with our guests and the conversations that we have.
Yeah. And it actually speaks to something we were convicted about a little bit through the conversation with Coach Joe Matheson, offensive coordinator, River Falls, who's coming to you today, is recruit everybody to your process all the time. Recruit everybody every day. And all that means, right, is this, like, be passionate about what you do and think that it matters, and then bring people along, because if it matters, they need to be doing it too. And so what an awesome opportunity to connect with a coach who, and we say this a lot, who gets it, right? Who gets the idea of what it means to be a leader. And yes, it's a lot of coaches, and yes, a lot of times it's football, right? Because that's our network. But in the same sense, like, there is such value in just talking to people that are doing it, that are in the trenches, that are adapting and reflecting on their process every day. And Coach Matheson has obviously done that a lot and brings some of that to the table in an awesome way.
Yeah. And it's about play, Jamie. The vehicle we use is sports and coaches, but it is about life. But we can learn a lot from the ability to play and compete and those sorts of things. So if you're listening and you're like, another football coach, well, first of all, maybe this isn't a podcast for you, because this is kind of going to be the direction we go in terms of not necessarily football specific, but coaches in sports. And that's our lens. And if we try to pull out those messages, because it really is about life. But anyway, I'm glad that you're listening. I didn't mean to tell you to go listen to somebody else, but you're right, Jamie. Awesome conversation with Joe. Great dude, brought the juice. We got better. He got better. We talked about that afterwards, and we know that you as a listener will also get better today. Here we go. Well, here we go. Apparently I just hit it. Usually I have to select which one, but Coach Joe Matheson, welcome to the Eyes Up Mindset podcast. Good to have you.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
So we got connected. I'm wearing my Solem Strong shirt here today in honor of not an honor. What's the right word there, Jay? An honor? Support?
Sure. And support, maybe.
Of our good friend Trevor. We did a benefit for him a couple of weeks ago. He's battling cancer as a high school football coach in Minnesota. And his brother actually is the one who connected us with you. I think you guys spent some time maybe together at River Falls or got connected somehow. So Grant Solom, I know you're listening. Thank you for connecting us. Coach, tell us a little bit about where you're at right now. I know you just got off a road trip. So tell us kind of where we're at.
Yeah, so name's Joe Matheson. I'm the offensive coordinator over at UW River Falls. We're a public D3 school in the WIAC. And yeah, I was just saying, we just finished off a nice 14-hour bus ride back from Arkansas. We're in the midst of our season. So, off to a good start, 2-0, but that was definitely a memorable trip for the guys. And I think we all got to know each other really well when you're on a bus for that long.
It's interesting because the thing I loved, right? We're both Division III athletes, John and I, and we played football. And anybody that's listened to this podcast, yes, we went to Bethel. That's real. We say it a lot because it shaped a lot of who we are. But the thing that I loved was exactly what you're talking about. It was rarely the football. Yes, I have all kinds of football memories. I have all kinds of stuff that I'm like, oh man, that was great. But most of it is like the stupid stuff that happened in the locker room, on the bus. And really kind of comes to some place that I've been thinking about a lot is like, you get guys from all over, from different cultures, from different backgrounds, different political, socioeconomic, different faiths, whatever. And we got to try and put all those guys moving in the same direction. I think a bus ride like that is a huge opportunity to do some of that stuff where it happens naturally. What are you guys doing? As the OC, you're bringing a bunch of different guys from a bunch of different philosophies, styles, everything. How do you get them to come together? Like, what does that look like? Because I think D3 in a lot of ways represents like life in a way that maybe Division I doesn't, right? Because it's not a 40-hour a week job, 60-hour a week job. It's not professional sports. We got to do this and integrate the rest of their lives. I just think that's a fascinating question.
I totally agree with you. And I think a lot of it too, I've been here 3.5 years now. It has to do with your place. And, UW River Falls is super unique because of its location. That's really where it starts. We're a small rural town, but we're about 20 minutes from the Twin Cities. So you think about our clientele, we're getting inner city guys, we're getting rural guys, we're getting everything in between because, being a public school, it's got a value prop for just about anyone. So which is awesome. And it has its challenges at the same time. So to be a football coach, we feel like we have this vehicle where we can take everyone from all these different backgrounds, and it's harder than ever too, right? All different opinions, all different, whatever you have, but we can bring everyone together and then you've got this common goal. So really in the end, that's what's going to unite you, right? You're working towards this common goal and it's really powerful. I even think like with this trip, we scheduled this trip in July. We're actually supposed to play another school. They bought out our contract, didn't want to play us. And we were like, shoot, we really want to give our guys 10 opportunities. They didn't get to play last year. We thought that was important. So we're looking at California. We're looking at, East Coast. It's like, oh, shoot, we got this trip to Arkansas. Can we pull it off? And can guys handle a 14-hour bus trip? So we really worked hard. Hey, this isn't something we're going to dread. This is such a great opportunity to go play a ranked team on the road, to spend this time with each other. And I thought everyone handled it really well because we were saying it about hour 8 on the way home. If this were a loss, it'd be a little bit longer trip on the way back. But like you said, it's those moments where those barriers are broken down. You're on that bus together with one mission, and it's crazy how it can unite everyone.
And I think you said that well. After a loss, it's probably a little bit longer, but I think probably longer for coaches than the guys. I think, when I was a player, obviously I wanted to win, right? But there is a certain point, especially on a long trip like that, where it's like, okay, we lost. We got to get back to work, but let's have some fun on the way because, well, they're still teenagers most of them, right? So, they're interacting, they're having fun. And I think what a great way to create some of that connection. Jamie, you say it all the time, loose connections create strong bonds. Coach, other than getting them 10 games, was it an intentional choice to try to take a long road trip and get them out of their comfort zone a little bit?
No, not at all. I'm just being honest, especially with the COVID stuff going on. We wanted to get something close, and for cost reasons, but it was, hey, we got 2 months to go. We're going to do whatever it takes. And that's something, our head coach, Matt Walker, I appreciate about him. He's that type of guy. Hey, let's circle the wagons with fundraising. Hey, let's figure it out with administration to give these kids that opportunity, because like we said, it had been such a long time off. We just wanted to find something. So we were really lucky that it worked out that way. But that's, just being honest.
I think that's such a great thing to be thinking about is, and we're not just about sports and coaches. A lot of the people that we're listening, that like check in, are coaches. But what is it that we can do in our place in life to ensure that we're going to get the opportunity, right? Who cares what the cost sometimes, right? And the cost is not always financial, right? There's a physical cost to being on the bus for 14 hours. There's a mental and emotional cost to being on the bus for 14 hours. There's a physical and mental and emotional cost to all the things that we could choose in this process. And what you said is great leadership, right? Great leadership says, let's do this, even if it's going to have those things, because I think the value out of it is a bigger deal than the value of not doing it, right? And then saving some of those costs. And we say it all the time. Anything you say yes to is a no to something else. But anything you say no to is a possible yes that you left off the table. And you guys said yes. And now you get a win against a ranked team on the road after doing this thing. And you grew because of it. You grew because of that challenge. And that's a really awesome sort of thing. So how do you get to that point where you feel like you guys can go and compete with these really quality teams? Like, what have you been doing in the 3.5 years that you've been there to bring yourself to a level where you can say, we want to challenge ourselves against the best?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question. And, this is a program that has a lot of great history to it and has had a lot of success, but, this team has not been 500 in over 20 years now. So guys to buy in, getting guys to believe, and really it starts at the top. Like I said, with our head coach, he's just got that vision. And it's funny. I heard something, and I don't want to, not credit someone, but they put it really well. They said clouds in dirt. So the clouds is like this vision. We can be this great program, all the philosophical things. Here's who we could be. Here's what we could do. And then there's the dirt, right? It's like, what about that actual work you're putting in on the daily basis? Your daily grind of becoming better and the difficulty behind that. So from an offensive standpoint, like with our unit, what can you execute? What can you be good at? That's what we've been really trying to build on. And we think we've accomplished some of that. So to answer your question, how do you feel like you can take on these really great teams? Let's find out what we're good at. What can we prove and actually execute? Because we can talk about, we're a tempo team. We talk about going fast and being great on offense. That sounds awesome. I can show you 5 great clips, but can you consistently do it? And you can't lie to the kids about that. They're going to know it. They know better than anyone. There is no faking that. So I think, what can you truly execute? What can you truly be good at? And then building on those things and eventually bringing that to other components of, whether it's the offense or whatever you're doing in your organization. But you can't just talk the talk. Hey, we want to be this great tempo team. A lot of teams want to. It sounds great. But, that can also really hurt your team. If you're going really fast and you're not executing, it really hurts your defense. And so you have to be, what I think is important is that you have some real results and that you're building towards something.
So I think that's a good point in terms of figure out what you're good at and what you can execute. I think in life, though, whether it's in life or coaching, we want something, maybe. We want to be in football terms, we want to be a power downhill running team. We want to be a tempo, throw it all over the yard sort of team. But we maybe don't have the players, or we don't have the culture, or whatever it is. Have you run into any things where you've had to adjust kind of, for your vision of the offense, what have you had to kind of mold to the guys that you have, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with our organizational structure, because I'm originally from, the state of Wisconsin. I'm from Green Bay. And it's this very, there's this philosophy or mindset, pound the rock, let's be physical. There's a certain way of playing. I was at University of Minnesota when I helped and coached there. And, it was very, very similar mindset. And I thought that was the right way to do it. When, quite frankly, the reason why we are the way we are here offensively, or our philosophy is the way it is, has to do with our place. How much time do we have to spend with the kids? What kind of coaching staff do we have? How much time do we have with those coaches? What can we accomplish virtually versus in person for those reasons? What can we practice and what can we get good at? So I'll give you an example. At the University of Minnesota, they're going to give you priority scheduling and the ability. So, all the classes for the football players are a certain way, so you can spend time with them and get them all the meeting time you need, all the film review time, the lifting times. It's very regimented at the D1 level. Whereas here, as a Division III athlete, we got guys balancing jobs. We got guys, they're leaving practice on Wednesday to go to their lab, which is, it's awesome, because I've got so much respect for these guys who are balancing so much and maybe don't get the same glory that the other guys do. But we don't get a lot of time with our guys outside of training camp. So I equate what we're doing to launching a rocket. Like, you're going to set that trajectory. You can adjust it a little bit as you get going, but it's all about how we install together in camp. We're not going to do a lot of different things. We're going to be really simple, but we're going to master those simple concepts, and we're going to execute them at a tempo that other teams can't match. And that's our goal. So we're going to be really ultra simple. And it's not because we think it's cool. It's because it works for where we are and the structure we have. So that's one example of how I think we do that.
I love that so much. You're just speaking to my heart right now, right? Get really good at something and be simple about it, right? That doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, though. It actually might mean that our focus needs to be extreme, and that's incredibly challenging. We have to focus down. And as coaches, as leaders, we want the next shiny thing sometimes, and our athletes do too, right? And especially in our Instagram world, where it's like, I see this shiny thing, I want to go and get that thing. As coaches, we're susceptible to it. As leaders, we're susceptible to it. We want to stretch ourselves and grow and get beyond that stuff. How do you be disciplined? How do you personally create some discipline around not seeking the shiny thing, or they're doing this, we got to try it,
It's such a balance, because especially with the pandemic, it's almost like coaches, you have this influx of information. You have all this stuff you have at your fingertips now. You can watch an NFL game, you can watch a college game and want to steal a concept. And I always see myself as, because, our head coach is a great offensive mind. And then our other coaches, like our O-line coach and running back coach, they're better X's and O guys than I'll ever be. They're fantastic. But I see myself as like a protector of, hey, let's try and keep it limited with the concepts. That's my most important job, I think. And at times I feel like on the edge, do we have enough different things in to keep teams off balance, or can we, and then on the other end, can we master everything we have in? So it's that tremendous balance. But it's funny you say that, because I always think about, during the pandemic, you always want to put in the next new thing. It's like, well, shoot, like it's not an NFL team where we got these guys in meetings for 8 hours a day. It's just not. So what can we get good at? What can we master? And I just really believe it, because, I was lucky enough to be at a place where we had a lot of football in, we had great coaches, and they were great professionals and had a lot of time to do it. We are too, but in a different way.
So I coached collegiately also for a little while. And one of the things that was always my takeaway in our meetings on, we didn't meet on Sundays. We met on Mondays, right? Which is its own kind of challenge at the collegiate level. And on Monday nights, we'd be throwing everything on the chalkboard, right? We'd be drawing it all up. Like, this is what we got to do. This is what we got to do. And our defensive coordinator had just this unbelievable discipline. And he would say, what can we teach? He's like, if we can't teach it by Thursday, it's got to be out, And what happened was exactly what you're talking about. We ended up coming back to our foundation, our base, our simple, over and over and over again. It's like, well, if we can't get there by Thursday, we can't get there by when we need it. It's pointless to even try to bring it in, because guess what? We're already pretty good at. Right. And I think that's such a great reminder for us, like what you just said is an unbelievable reminder. Sometimes we want to seek the new thing, but we have to be protectors of what we're doing really well, because if we don't protect it, we're going to drift away from what we do well, and I just, that's a great challenge from you to the leaders that are listening, to say, how can you be a protector of your culture? How can you be a protector of what you do well? Because I respect that kind of leadership in a tremendous way. As a teacher, I was a teacher. Like there's all these initiatives coming at you all the time. It's like, I don't want to do another thing. Like I can't get good at that, and so
I think the thing you spoke to also, though, is a balance in your organizational structure, because you still need the guy that is watching all the NFL film and saying, hey, can we do this? Because there is going to be a time and a place for, let's throw that in there, because we need a special play. We need a 2-point play. We need whatever. So you need all of those roles where you have maybe, your head coach saying, hey, can we do all of these things? And you're like, whoa, hold on. Let's get back to our foundation, right?
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I need a lot of checks and balances. We got good people to do it. And I'm wrong all the time. That's part about it. And it's so important to have that. I totally agree.
For sure.
So when do you see that level where you can actually do the next thing? Like, because there is a progression here where you're going, we have these 6 things and we trust these 6 things. Now let's layer up.
Yeah, and it's a difficult question to answer. Now, it's funny because we were just chatting about this in our staff meetings, and here's how I feel about it. Are we just running plays, or are we stressing our defense in different ways? And if the defense is stressing some of our core concepts, that means we probably need what I call a counterpunch or something else we can add to the mix. So it's almost like a feel thing, right? And you can see it on tape. It's evidence on tape. But, are they stressing us, and we're not stressing them in enough different ways? So, but I don't want to just run plays to run plays just for the reason of doing it. We want something that's going to put pressure on the defense. We're an ultra aggressive offense. We want to be the aggressors. So if we feel like we're losing that ability, then that's where we want to add.
Sure. Coach, how about for you personally, in terms of, I told you we got connected through a mutual friend, and, I texted him a little while ago and said, hey, what should we ask Coach about? And he said, ask him about his discipline in his personal life with his intermittent fasting. Now, this could be old news. I don't know, but he told me a story, but I'm going to let you go first in terms of how do you apply, discipline and intentionality in your own life? And now you're laughing. So I like where this is going.
I'm sure there's some, it's funny because when I first got asked to come on the podcast, I just thought it was because we got our butts beat so bad by Bethel the last couple of years. And they're like, hey, get this guy on. No, I'm just kidding. So, Grant, he's a fantastic coach. He played here at River Falls, and we were lucky enough to have him on staff helping us out. And I think I'm a little bit notorious because I could tell you. So I started as a student assistant at the University of Minnesota.
Which by the way, but can I stop you for a second? I think there's potential overlap. So we just had a couple of weeks ago, we had Coach Mike McCarthy, who's at Bethel.
McElroy. Yeah, I know Mac really well. He was a GA at the time at Minnesota. So he's someone I stay in touch with because he is like, it's funny because I know you guys had him on, and I was like, oh man, it's gonna sound pretty low level thinking compared to Mike, because he is tremendous.
He's out there. It's great. Yeah.
He not only he has a lot of wisdom, but he's a really good football coach, and he is really competitive, and he's great at what he does too, which I think that's so true, because he's such a thinker.
Didn't mean to derail you.
It's funny because those guys are awesome. But anyways, so when I was a student assistant and then I became a GA, so I was at University of Minnesota, I was at SMSU as a GA, and when you're first getting into this profession, it really takes up a lot of your time, and there's a learning curve. Like when I was at University of Minnesota, one of the perks of working there is you get the access to the training table. So I came in, I was a high school athlete. I was a good athlete. I'm eating like a Division I O lineman every day, just like crushing food, like breaking down tape, like really living that coach lifestyle. Same thing down at SMSU, just some really unhealthy habits, with diet and, lack of exercise. So something I tried, was actually a coach at SMSU. I tried this intermittent fasting thing. So I was not feeling well. And like I said, it was that learning curve with becoming a coach. So the intermittent fasting with, so I'd shut it off. You don't eat after 7 p.m. You eat again at 11. So I ended up losing like 30 pounds or 35 pounds doing that. I got in a routine where it really worked for me. But what Grant's getting at, I'm sure, is, we'd be in the office and I'm so relentless with it. There's almost a joke because like you'll know when it's about time to eat for me because it's been such a long time and I'm dying to do it. It's like, or someone will bring in a treat or something. Hey, no, can't have it, can't do it. So I think that's always the joke around the office is you can't put any food in my face unless it's that time. And then everyone's like, oh, everyone's on Matheson's time when it comes to going to eat. So I always want to get breakfast at like 10 a.m. or something because of how it's going. So I'm sure it has something to do with that.
No, yeah, he said, exactly that. It would be 11:27 and you couldn't eat till 11:30 and you would just sit there. Like, even if you were at McDonald's, you're like, nope, I'm not eating. I'm going to wait my 3 minutes, but I think that's, again, is a skill that you obviously had to dive into. You had to learn because, and be intentional about it. And that's kind of what we're about is, okay, how do we figure out what we can be good at, what will work for us, and be intentional and build that into our life? Not unlike building an offense around what are our foundations? What do we want to be? Who do we want to be? Yeah. And go execute those things.
And what it speaks to, I think, is practicality, right? And that's what I think with our offense here. It's practical for where we are. Same thing. Hey, I can't have some diet calculator where I'm punching in everything. That's too, well, what's practical for me? And that's something that's worked, and I totally agree with you from that standpoint.
Yeah, I intermittent fasted a while ago and I probably lost 18, 20 pounds and I'm not a big dude and it worked for me. Right. And then it stopped working for me. And I changed. Like there was, and I think this is something we speak to a lot is like start to reflect more consistently on what's actually going on. Right. Take a look. And one of the things I love about college sports, one of the things I love about sports is like, we do that better than maybe anywhere else we do it in life is we stop and we watch the film on Sunday, on Saturday night. We self-scout often, right? We look at where we're at and we have institutional structures that do that for us, that are just a part of the process. We don't do that a lot in life. Do you have some pieces where you reflect, where you take a look and say, coaching is a full-time, I just said this to a coach we serve, I understand that coaching is not a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job. It is a 24/7, 365 thing. Do you build in any of those structures for yourself in your personal life beyond just, hey, I'm going to do this where I value my personal fitness and my health? Are there things that you're working on to institute some of that discipline in other ways in your life, some of that reflection?
Yeah, a couple thoughts on that. The first thing is stress management, especially within this profession. You have so much to do. You're putting out fires throughout the day. I'm a runner. I like to run. So what I've found is, especially when we're going to meet with the kids, we have afternoon meetings every day. I want to make sure I've exercised before that. And it's just something I believe in. And at times it seems ludicrous because it's like, well, how can you go work out when you've got 1,000 things you still have to do? And my argument is, well, hey, this is really going to reset me. What's this really for? We're serving these kids. We're trying to create this experience for them that's meaningful. I have to be right for them. And a lot of things go wrong, and it could be within the institution. It could be, maybe things aren't going well. It's been through some tough years here, right? but can you reset yourself and be at your best for them? That's something I challenge myself to do every day. So that's something I found is really important. It's a non-negotiable for me. And it's not always before, but I'm going to get that in at some point. And then, you know, the other part of the question is so interesting. You see it in the coaching profession a lot. Can you have that balance that works for your personal life? And that's where the Mike McElroys of the world are rock stars and someone you can ask and learn from because they do it right. But, you know, I think part of it too is we're in this for a lot of different reasons. I'm ultra competitive. I think college football is an ultra competitive profession, but there's this depth of meaning that comes with this profession where you truly believe you can have this meaningful impact on kids that they can use for the rest of their life. We say we want to give them a tool set or a mindset to be successful in life. And I put it like, hey, can you be someone that people can count on? The people you care about, can they count on you? Do you have that skill set? That's something we want to develop. There's this mission. You have to have buy-in from your friends and family as well. They just have to be a part of it with you if you want it to work long-term. That's something I believe. So it really becomes, you know, it's really more than you. You have to have that community, your community buy-in for this profession as well.
Coach, you couldn't have led me into my next question any better with that. You know, one of the things that Grant, you know, talked about was kind of a philosophy I think you guys still have is this palms up or palms down. Maybe you can just walk us through that, because it sounds like it's more than a mantra. It's more than just words, and that's something we talk about all the time. Teams have these sayings, and then they repeat them, and you know sometimes it's just like, oh yeah, we're going through the motions because this is the cool buzzword. But it sounds like that's something that really means a lot to you guys as a program and as a culture. So maybe talk us through what that means.
Yeah. So, you know, just talking about some of the time and the sacrifices you make to be a part of this profession. I mean, one of the things that makes it worth it is working for a great leader. And Matt Walker is our head coach. And one of the things he lives by, we call it palm up. And it's simple, but it really applies to everything. So palm up or palm down. Are you giving? So palm up, are you giving something to the program in that moment? Palm down, are you taking? So it's one of the two. It's binary. You're either giving to the mission or you're taking from it with your energy. And we talk about it for a lot of the off-field thing, body language, community service, saying please and thank you to a food service worker. Those small things that have such an impact on the team image and the team culture. It really is something that kids really they can physically see it. They physically do it and they believe in that. So yeah, and it's awesome. Like we talk about recruiting a lot, but recruiting is really hard if you're not somewhere where you believe if this recruit comes in, they're going to have a tremendous experience and get something out of it. I feel so good about recruiting here because I just know they're going to have a great experience. I know they're going to learn it the right way here. And, you know, that's one of the things that we always bring up, whether it's a team meeting or, you know, position meeting, what have you. And the kids are bought into it as well. So just, can we make something a little bit better for someone?
This concept of palm up, palm down, right now I'm dealing with, you know, serving some organizations, some teams that are struggling with some selfishness, right? They're struggling with some me firstness, not shocking, right? Given the state of young people, right? Young people have a bubble that is me centric. They're egocentric, and that's fine. That's part of the maturation process in life, but we have to come across things like palm up. We have to have some model. We have to have, and not a model. It's 90 models on a football team, you know, like and you have to believe it. And if your coaches, if it's just a thing you say, like you said, I recruited for a period and there were pieces of it that I hated. And there were pieces of it where it's like, it is really easy to sell this place because it's who we are. And like, you're not going to come here and it's not going to align with what I've told you. Where I coach at a couple different schools, and one of the schools was, this doesn't feel right to sell this, right? Because the thing that I'm saying, I don't see it on a day-to-day basis. And I think, you know, that is a really difficult challenge for us as people to say, if we believe in this thing, how do I live it? How do I live it out loud? And what an amazing image are you given or are you taking? Are you palm up or are you palm down? Because it becomes who you are, right? It becomes what you guys are as a program. Do I go and offer my hand to somebody to help them up because I love them and I care about them and I'm serving them? Or am I, I'm going to go back to the huddle on my own because I need to go and focus on the next thing that's about me, and I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And one thing too, that's kind of that I like about it, just having worked in some different teams and organizations, you can see it through actions. That's something that I really like about it is, yeah, it's on that mission statement page in your plate book and all that, but it's really tangible. And that's, yeah, I totally agree.
So where have you seen it, or how do you guys try to model that for your players?
Well, I think one way it really screams during practice is the body language piece. And, you talk about it too. You got me thinking with the recruiting part of this, right? What are we doing? We're telling kids how good they are, how you're going to make the difference here. And we're all guilty of it as recruiters and coaches. I'm guilty of it myself. We're all competitive. And I talk to our guys about it a lot. It's you have to be able to pull from both directions. You have to be individually great and on task, but it's all about the group. So you have to hold both those ideas in your head. So to have something like that where it's about the team, it's that reminder that it's about the team. So, you can see it with body language. I think we bring it all the time with body language, but where it's really been good with us too is off the field. It comes up all the time with community service, our food drive stuff we've done, working with the youth football league here in River Falls, all those different things. Like it's kind of reached beyond the field, which is pretty cool.
Well, and I love what you talk about is giving guys or your players or your people that are involved with the program, the tool set, the mindset around that. Jamie, you and I were just talking about a situation where there was an athlete who probably was the more skilled player, was younger, needed to play, right? And came to the coach and said, I'm not playing enough. Now, as an athlete, he, who we won't give out the name, but she maybe didn't have the tools to have that conversation in a way that was about the team, right? It came across as it's about me. But teaching them, giving them the tools about body language, about communication, and about the courage to say, hey, I'm going to advocate for myself in the context of team first. I think that's awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. And, it's like we've all been through it in our own right in different ways. But I always think of it this way. Even that player who seemed selfish at the time, sometimes messages don't get through the first time. Sometimes you have to live through it a little bit. And that's why we try to have simple messages, because I may say something 20 times and it won't get through till that 18th time because I said it in a different way or they saw it in a different way. So it's such an interesting lesson to learn. And like I said, I've failed at it myself plenty of times as well.
To me, it's being able to have enough people on the same track that because the way you say it might land for somebody and the way your running back coach says it might land for somebody else. And it might be on the 20th time he says it that it actually matters. So you need to have as many people going in the same direction as possible, because then you get the real power, I think. And that's not an easy thing to do either, getting your staff and all the people with different agendas and different, because some people are there to say, I want to advance my career. I want to be an offensive coordinator someday. I want to be a head coach someday. And it probably isn't here because there's good people here. Right. So how do you bring all that in too is just a dynamic question. And I'm not saying you have an answer, but maybe you got something for us.
No, I've got a big idea behind some of this. So I don't know if it directly answers your question, but we were going through the pandemic and, times are really hard for a while, especially in Division III athletics. And some of our kids just, I'm sure they felt like, they weren't getting the type of attention they needed or deserved. And I've thought about this a lot, especially at our level. we need to recruit everyone, coaches, current players, future players, and recruits, obviously. We need to recruit everyone every day. This is a privilege, but you don't have to do it. So, I want this to be fun for our guys. If you're playing in our offense, so I was a little bit insecure about it at first, but we created a brand for our offense. We call it the Top Gun offense, and we want it to reinforce our values in what we do. We want it to be really identifiable. We want it to be fun. So, one way we did it, because going back to what you're saying, what resonates with who we're messaging to? And I'm a marketing guy. I went to school for it, got an MBA and that stuff. I just think social media, you're marketing to, recruits, but players and coaches as well. They want to be excited about what they're doing every day. So it's also, it's hearing it from us in meetings. I want them to see it on their phones. I want them to know other people are seeing it. I want them to be proud and have pride in what they're a part of. So I think there's a lot of this stuff is evil. It puts bad. Yeah, sure. It's all those things too, but you can also use it for good. Whether you like it or not, where is everyone's attention when it comes to, your day-to-day life? We're on our phones a lot. So I think having a framework, a practical framework where we have some branding and some things to reinforce our values, I think that's been a plus for us. And at times when we couldn't get to our guys in person, we had some things out there that reminded them of what they're a part of.
That's awesome.
Oh, I love the concept. Recruit everyone every day. I think about my marriage. You hear about that in marriages sometimes where it's like date your wife, right? Date her every day, or husband, or whoever your partner is. I don't want to go down that road, but like if you remember that, if you live your life by that, recruit everybody every day. How do I get to be a valuable part of this person's life? How do I give with my palm up? Man, powerful stuff, Coach.
No, and the other thing too, I heard Mac Brown said it, and it was really interesting. And one thing he said, they're talking about the interview process or something of that nature, and he said, "Be somebody that people enjoy being around." And it sounds so simple, but that's such a good point, because I'm never going to be good enough or smart enough that, there are those people out there, they can act however they want because they're so special and tremendously great at what they do. He's somebody that people want to spend time with. That resonated with me because, especially again, coaching football, we're doing this because we're passionate about it and it should be fun. So that was something else I heard recently that I thought was awesome.
I think the other thing I took away when you were talking about the social media and having, buy-in or feeling pride in the thing that you're doing, having fun, enjoying it. I think of, my industry of mental health. We rarely are talking about, hey, this is fun, that we come because we're serving people. No, we've been called to do this. And a lot of times there's this overarching, man, it's hard work, but it's important work. Right. And similar to football, where for a long time it was like, no, football is, you got to be a tough guy. You got to work hard. You got to do blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, it can be fun. We can be proud of it. We can get excited about the work we're doing, even if it's hard. And so as leaders in all industries, how can we take that concept right there, Coach, and say, hey, how do we give people some pride about showing up to work every day? And it's not just, hey, it's wins for sure. But what about the times when you're not winning? Because that's, you get 10 times, maybe 11 if you make the playoffs, right? To have that feeling. Yeah. But how do we create that pride and that enjoyment and that fun every day?
Yeah, and that, I think you're absolutely right. And anytime you put something like anything out there like that, it's like, well, the Top Gun offense can be grounded at any point here, guys. Right? That's an easy one. Right. But I even said it, we're 2-0 right now. We haven't been 2-0 in a while. It's like you get a lot more friends. It was the same way at University of Minnesota. You have a lot more friends when it's 8 wins and not 3 wins, right? So we have to have the ability to win when you we can't be so result oriented in this sport. There's way too many variables. So if you're having fun what you're doing, and I even said it sounds so cheesy, but you really can't lose. Like, if you love the process of playing this way, if you love that process of doing what it takes each week to play fast against your next opponent, you really can't lose. Like, it's going to be fun. This is college football. It's such a fun thing to be a part of. There are things that are going to happen that we don't like as far as the results, but if we can have fun, like, we really can't lose. I believe that. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I actually believe it. I just love the process of getting ready to play this way each week.
I'm going to just jump in here and say that I think you can't get great unless you believe it. I just genuinely think that that's true. I think there are people that are great that have tools, like you said, that just like it falls off of them, right? Greatness kind of falls off them. It just drips from them. But for the majority of us, 98, 99% of us, and I'm going to guess that they would tell me that the people that it looks like it's really easy for, it's not at all easy for, right? They've done a lot of work to get to that point, and they love it too, right? They love the stress of, I want to be 0.1% better today, or when we improve, it might be 2% better because we better 2%. Like, you do not get great unless you love, and unless you believe some of the cheesy stuff, right? Unless you believe some of the cliches, because it's out there and it's cheesy and it's cliche for a reason, because it works. And that's the stuff that matters. And so when it's all said and done, I want a pair of bomber glasses. I want to show up on the sidelines at River Falls. And I want to say, I want to see Top Gun at work, even if you lose, right? Because to me, you've recruited me to be a fan, right? And that's what our job is as leaders, is get people to buy in somehow, right? And thank you for sharing what you've shared with us today. We're incredibly grateful that you grew us, and now we have a reason. It's not like we didn't have a reason to cheer for the Falcons, but maybe a little.
I mean,
sometimes. Hey, we don't play. We're not on the schedule anymore. Can you take it on us?
That's fair. No, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Coach, best of luck the rest of the way. Like Jamie said, we're fans, and having conversations like this is what it's about. So appreciate you taking your time out of what we know is an incredibly busy schedule. So appreciate it.
Thanks so much, fellas. This was really fun, and I think I learned a lot. We got some good ideas flowing there. Appreciate it.
Once again, Jamie, a challenge in many ways, personally, professionally. Coaching, you're a leader, doesn't matter. Coach Joe Matheson at UW River Falls, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Brought the juice today, and some football specific stuff all the way down, which I think why we love talking to coaches, because there's a purpose, but then there's also, there's a bigger purpose, which is life. How do we build the tools, give people the things they need to get better and to live eyes up?
Yeah. And it goes back to the very beginning, like the common purpose piece is just absolutely vital. If your organization, if your team, if your group of people doesn't have a common purpose, you got to define it, right? You got to be going in this same direction. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be all in all the time, but it is something to come back to consistently, right? It's this unifying factor that brings us back to the cause at the root of what it is that we're doing, right? For football team, win games, right? And sacrifice my needs and my wants for the role that I am put in on this team to win games. For him, it's offensive athletes. One of the things that we're going to ask you to sacrifice for is that you got to have fitness to go fast, right? That's part of who they are. But what is the call that you're going to have to sacrifice for in your personal life, right? Maybe, like Coach Matheson, maybe your fitness isn't great. Maybe your health isn't great because you're learning a new profession, a new career, and new opportunities in front of you. And you just want to work really hard at that thing. And so your health starts to deteriorate because you're not eating right. What do you got to then put into your life to say, this is my underlying purpose because I want to be here for my family, for my kids, whatever it might be. And if I not, my health, like there's a million ways that we can answer this question.
Yeah, no, that very scenario happens to me every time we do a house project, because at the beginning it's like, man, there's a million things to do and I'm working a bunch and I'm doing all kinds of different things and I just forget to eat or drink. And if I do, it's like, let me grab a Mountain Dew or a burger and let's just pound it on the way to the next thing. And then there's a point where it's like, I don't feel good now. I need to change something. I need to be different.
And I'm on the road a lot. And so when I get on the road, guess what? I go grab a Coke or something, and then I don't sleep well. And then I don't sleep well. And the next day I'm home and I'm trying to be dad. And
but it's habitual,
I'm irritated,
right?
Right? Exactly.
It's not conscious even most of the time for me. It's just like,
Sure.
oh, this is the easy thing. Boom. So that's where putting those easy things in your life where you can make that better choice is really what we're talking about here. But man, I just love this conversation. You know, the other thing, the big thing for me, Jamie, was the recruit everybody every day. Yeah. And then another layer maybe before that is be someone that, you know, people want to be around. Yeah. Right. If you can live your life that way and say, I'm going to be somebody that people want to be around, people want to work with, people want to work for, alongside, whatever your situation, your role is. And then you recruit people to that cause and if it's football games, if it's providing mental health services, if it's growing a business, it doesn't matter. But recruit people every day because it matters that you do it consistently, not just at the beginning or one time. It's not a one-off thing.
No, absolutely not. And we were just talking about this kind of in the interim is like, if the thing that you're bought into doesn't get you excited like that, right? That's a message, you know, like that's something that you need to reflect about and say, how do I either buy in and love this thing and be passionate about this thing in such a way that I'm going to recruit people to this cause, or how do I remove that thing from my life? It is a choice. It's not an easy choice, right? The last episode, our solo pod that just came out, right, is this conversation about like, I can't as a choice ultimately. And when we say I can't, what we mean is that something along the road would be a thing that I don't want to choose. And if the choice for you right now is like, I can't be excited about this thing and I don't want to recruit people to this purpose that I have, find a new purpose, find a new cause, like, and give yourself to it, because we will not get to the place that we want to get to. We will not get to excellence or a life that we love and enjoy and can live palm up. Right.
I was just going to say, the question is, am I giving to this culture, to this cause, to this mission, to this vision with my energy? Am I giving or am I taking? The palm up or palm down? Man, well, that's a simple question.
How great does that fit with Eyes Up, right? He talked about palm up being a body language thing. Well, Eyes Up is a body language thing. Are you giving to others with your purpose and your vision? And if you're not, I got news for you. It's probably not going to go very far, because you're going to need a whole lot of people along the way to pour into your purpose, your vision, recruit them with energy, with passion, with excitement. And we say recruit and it feels gross sometimes. It feels like we're selling somebody, but it's not selling if you believe it. It's just who you are and they want to be a part of it. That's the challenge I leave to all of you today from Coach, because if you do that, the sky's the limit.
Appreciate you joining us today as we continue to get better. We know that you are getting better with these conversations as well. The ask that we have for you is share it, give it away, give it to somebody that will benefit from this conversation, whether it's a coach, a leader, a colleague, a parent, whoever. This is about life. Living Eyes Up is about living a certain way and seeking opportunities to get better every day. Jamie, appreciate you. And as always, live Eyes Up.